Welcome back. Today's video, we're going to be going over custom designed and built and fabricated rock slider tree kickers that I made for my 2022 Polaris General XP. I'd also like to say to you guys that skip through when you get bored, I understand that, but watch where you're skipping through to, because in this video I also have some good hints or some tricks and tips during the welding process and during the fabrication process of some things that I went through and things that I did to help me out. And also, if we've got any welders watching, some tricks and tips there for your welding bench and things that you might want to do for yourself to make it a little bit easier. So I've got it on the 45-degree angle, and I use it's a Klein digital angle finder, digital angle gauge is what it's called. So now that's on the 45-degree angle there. 45.1, it's close enough. So again, we're at a 45 to the blade cut, and the piece is also tipped at a 45-degree angle, which on the cutoff piece will give me a diamond shaped at the bottom. And that's what I'm going for the front of these tree kickers. For those of you that aren't sure what I'm doing here, these rub rails, tree kickers, Nerf bars, there's so many names for them, but I'm making them to fit down here along the side of the side-by-side. So they'll mount up here in that spot here, and then I'm going to create some kind of leg coming up. Yeah, you can buy these, but it's always more fun trying to create them and come up with your own. And then I'll show you on the front here why I cut that on a compound 45 angle, so it basically comes down through here and it kind of matches up with the front of that. And then I'll weld a cap on the end in that diamond pattern or that diamond shape to cover that end. And then you can see I'm just using jack stands here to give me the height that I'm looking for on this and where I want the location. So instead of laying it flat, it'll be tipped up on the angle as well. And I'm doing that just because of the lines of the machine are very distinct, and I wanted the rub rails or the tree kickers to be distinct as well. Everybody out there seems to use round tubing, and I thought, well, why not be a little bit different and make it out of square tubing and then turn it on an angle. So like I said, with the distinct lines that these machines have, they're very, very sharp lines, if you will. So that's why I'm turning this up on an angle, and then everything else will be turned when it comes to the top of this piece. As it comes up, it'll be on an angle as well. No, it's not very easy at all coming up with all these different angles, and there's going to be a lot of creative joinery, if you will, when it comes together on the angle with coming down the sidewalls of the angle. But I mean, isn't that what it's all about, is being creative and coming up with something a little bit different than every other guy out there in the trail's got? And I've got the tube laying flat, but it doesn't matter for what I'm doing here. But I need to create an angle up off of this at some point to where I like how it meets up with the next location or the next mounting area. So now what I have to do is figure out which angle I like or where I want that to mount. Do I want it to be higher than the back mounting hole, right over it, behind it? But I think with coming up with a way to mount that into the side of the frame in there, I got to make sure that I can get a wrench or whatever directly bolted into that for access. Set it at 0. And then let's say that was the angle I wanted. I set that up on there, and it tells me that I'm a 19-degree angle if that was the angle that I wanted it to be at. So I'm going to go ahead and mess around here and see which angle, which look I like. And I actually got Hunter to come out and give me a hand holding this end, because I want to put this piece in, and it's not just a simple 90-degree straight up. I want it to be kicked out on an angle a little bit here to follow the fender line as it comes down. So now I've got my my rail on the bottom here. I figured out my 58-degree angle here, 16 and 16, and then it's 12 degrees across here and 12 degrees across here, parallel with each other. And that's kind of the look I'm after, is something simple like that. Any trees that I might run over, or rocks or anything, this rail is about an inch lower than the bottom of the body panel, and anything that might come in contact with the side of it. Now I had to come up with a creative way to cut this 45 degree as it's tipped on a 45 degree. So I'm going to use my portable bandsaw on my Swag off-road tabletop bench and a 45 degree blocking. So what I have to do is come in here, and if you'll see how this is tipped on a 45 degree angle, or I guess rotated. Now I have to go down in here and feed this across, and that's the only way I can get that accurate enough to give me a 58 degree, because my chop saw only goes to 45 degree angle. So I've got most of my angles cut now, and up here was my two 16-degree angles, and again everything's turned on a 45. That's what these blocks here are doing. I've got them upside down. It's a V block clamped to just a parallel or a square block, and what that does is it's holding these bars up on their 45 degree angle. So again, I got my 16s here, I've got my 58 here, 58 degree angle, but what I had to do with these is I had to cut the back side of it out. So once I got the angle on it, excuse me, once I cut that 58 degree angle on it, then I had to go in and figure out what angle it needed cut off, because this piece, this was the cutoff from that piece. So essentially I cut almost all of the tail off of it, and then I had to go back in and cut this back to chamfer it out to fit in to the top of this piece. Also everything else is on a 45 degree angle. And now I have to get this piece inside of there. I gotta cut 12 and 12 degree angles on it, but I also then have to go in and chamfer, or not chamfer, but cope out the center of it so it fits down in here on a 45 degree angle, or a 12 degree angle as well, while it's tipped up on 45 degrees. All right, now that I've got all my angles cut for the rail going up, the one that goes across, and so on, and the upright one, I'm waiting. I've cut one angle on it, but I'm waiting to get the upper rail on here so I can get them both fit right. But what I've done here is I've got it clamped down, and they are on a 45 degree angle. If you can see how they're tipped and turned. So it's on the 45 degree angle. Got it clamped here, and I'm using my blocking here again on the welding table to hold this rotated at a 45 degree angle, and it's clamped down. And again, this one's in a 45 degree angle block, clamped down for its rotation to keep it correct, and clamp down there and clamp down here, so it shouldn't move too awful much when I go ahead to weld that up. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple spots of weld on this and get it held tight, and then I'll go back and I'll weld the angle piece up, or the top piece up here onto it, and then my lower piece down. One other thing I wanted to mention, that I do my welding with my Millermatic 211. It's a dual voltage, 220 or 110, and I'm running the 220 on this one with the gas bottle, 7525, using the 030 wire. So, and it's a MIG, if you guys are wondering. That's basically what I do all my welding with. Handy little tip: if you mount a magnet to the side of it, you'll always have a place for your welding pliers to go back to. You won't be looking all over the shop for them. So, magnet right on the side of it, never lose it again. Something else I wanted to mention that I do, or that I've have or have done to this Miller welder, is I put the bigger, heavier duty ground clamp on it, and off of that I have pigtailed to a magnet that is also my ground. And what I do with this is, if I'm welding this tube to this tube, so here's a better view, this tube to this tube, I've got my ground on this one, my ground clamp. I like to throw my grounding magnet on this one. That way I'm always assured that no matter where I start my weld, if I have some kind of bad gap or something that would cause it to arc or to not get a good ground, it just helps start that arc for when you're doing welding, if you have a ground on both sides of the two pieces you're trying to join together. Now once they're joined together, you don't really have to worry about it, but on the initial start of welding two pieces together, I like to do a dual ground on it, just because it helps get that first weld started, so you don't have any arc or false start or anything like that. Alright, I got another real quick tip for you. I know in some other videos I've showed this exhaust table and welding table and all that. Another thing is if you keep your wire brushes on the side of it, and a spot for some of your most used clamps. These are a 3/4 inch that fit into the top holes for clamping down your work. Why, all I did was just mounted a wooden board to the side, and it allows me that when I'm done, I can put all the clamps back to where they go, and they don't come up missing or I don't lose them. These are some real cheap Harbor Freight ones. There's a million people that have done things where they cut the end clamp off and put a dowel on the other end of it, and I just made a spot over here, kind of like you would for a screwdriver holder. Put them in there, and I made a bracket to hold my welding gun, and it's magnetic. So nice thing about it is it can be picked up, moved anywhere I want. So if I'm doing positioning, I'm welding something and this is in the way, just pick it up and move it over here. Pretty simple setup. And then when I'm done with it, take it off, and I screwed a metal plate to that, so anything magnetic just clamps onto that, along with my other welding clamp or ground magnetic, but I just use it for the angles that it has on it. Some other things, I've got dowels in here. So the table was machined square, so if I put a dowel here, I put a little spot of weld on each one so it stops, and the weld is offset of the length of that. So if I need a higher stop there, I can have it up higher, or if I needed it to be lower, flip it over and put it down lower. I've also made up some offset stops, same dowel. Got these keyed or set screwed O-rings, and now if I need to offset that, it's further away, I can do that with the offset plugs or stoppers, if you will. So again, if you kind of keep all your stuff close to you on your welding cart, it makes it a little bit easier when you're doing everything. And this is a mobile cart. I wheel it in underneath my bench when I'm done. So there's just one more tip for you, that some things to help out, keep yourself organized. Alright, I got the last two pieces cut out, and they're both on a 12-degree angle this way, and then they got the bird's mouths in them on each end. Slide that in there like that. Alright, I've taken my clamp-on ball vise and clamped it onto my welding bench here, and I can use this all around the shop, and it really makes it nice for doing odd angled type of stuff. And what I'm going to do is use it to hold these long rails here, and basically what it does is it clamps down under here, and then it's got a clamp over here that allows you to pivot, turn, swivel, move the vise all around. And it's called a Bernstein vise. It's all cast aluminum. It's got some metal jaws in it. But what makes it nice is I can set this at whatever angle or position I want, lock that down, and then that allows me to put the longer pieces in here, because I'm getting ready to weld on the top caps of these. Now this thing is about waist high to weld it, rather than trying to do it laying down sideways on the bench or on the welding table or anything like that. I've got all the end caps welded on and ground them all nice and smooth around there, because I wanted a nice clean finish, and because I don't weld very good. So I got those caps on, got this end cap on, and it just finishes it off, makes it look a little better. It'll keep the mud and dirt and everything else out of there way better than any plastic plug cap. Alright, I've been messing around with some brackets, and I didn't film a lot of cutting them out because it was quite a bit of tedious work. What I did end up coming up with is just a piece of angle iron. It's 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and what I did was I made it 4 inches wide. Here's one of them for the back, so at the base it's 4 inches wide, and then I just kind of figured out what the angle was to fit this pocket here, and backtracked on the dimensions on the hole, or tried to transfer them through there. And then what they do is there's a bolt here, factory bolt, and then there's a through hole, and you can see it here. This bolt is what holds the plastic on, and this is what the roll bar came packaged to when it comes in. And I've got to come up with some way. They make an L bolt that goes in here, an L, it goes in, bends around, comes out there. And I think I might end up looking to see if I can't buy one of them. But what I came up with here for the actual mounting the tree kicker on is, if I take and I put this up in here, I get my holes lined up, and then I slide this to the machine. What I'll do is weld across this top edge and the bottom side of it as well, down under where my hand's holding that up. I'll weld that across there. I'll have bolts holding it in, keeping it in location when I tack it on. So I'm going to have it tacked on here while it's at the machine, similar to what I've got here. So I've got it bolted onto the side of the machine, but it's not welded on there yet, as you can see. And then I just have a strap up here holding the top half to give me my outward angle on that, because it sticks out further up top than it does down at the bottom. I just need to come in here and come up with a similar to the same idea for this top bracket. I need to have some kind of bracket go down and in from that. And this bracket's on now too. And then I have to make a bracket for that upper spot. So what I did was took a plate, cut it on a couple angles to fit into that pocket correctly. And then I've got another piece here that is going to go up and in and weld to that, and then to the back side of the frame, and that'll all hold it together. So I'm going to go through here and start tacking all these off. And yes, I unhooked the battery of the vehicle, so shouldn't fry anything in the electronics. But I'm going to go ahead and tack this all off and see if I can't get it to hold enough to unbolt everything and remove it all at once. Okay, well, that wasn't too awful bad. I got all the brackets tacked on. And now I'm going to go ahead and start welding them out. Got to weld across the back here and here, back here, and on the back of this one, and the same with the other side over there on that other rail. Then flip them over and weld the back sides that I tacked on. Biggest thing is to try to keep them from pulling one way or the other when I get a weld on there. So I don't think I'm going to run a full length bead across it. I'll work back and forth on it so it doesn't pull and cause me grief when I go to hook these things back up. But as you can see, we are about 90% there. We're out here at Blair Coatings this morning, which is in the Duco building, and we're here with Michelle today, and she's going to be doing the powder coating on the rails.
These were sandblasted, then I cleaned them, I stuck them in the oven, and basically it's called outgassing to make sure there's nothing in the material itself so that it coats better.
All right.
Now it's all ready to go.
There you go. It's in the oven and ready to start cooking. We'll be eating lunch in no time. Michelle, how long have you been here? Or how long have you been doing this?
I've been powder coating for a little over a year.
Okay.
And worked here at Duco and Blair Coatings, well, Duco I guess, for about 9-10 years.
Okay. And you got a couple good size ovens here. You've got the smaller one here that we just put the rail in. And then you've got the big oven here that's easily 6 or 7 feet wide. And geez, it looks like it's 4 feet deep and 4 feet tall. We just took the finished part out of the oven. We've got this powder coat on it, and it's a black wrinkle finish from Eastwood Powders. And I've got Dan here with me as well, and he wanted to mention something if you guys ever make it this way to get some powder coating done. So what did you want to say, Dan?
If you guys come in next week, Monday through Friday, if you mention One Eyed Customs, we'll give you 50% off.
All right, perfect. That's a nice discount. And
just for 5 days, though.
Yep, for next week. So what he's saying is if you mention the One Eye Customs channel and you've seen this video and you're local around here or somewhere close enough, bring your powder coated parts into them and they'll get them done. So like I said, did a really nice job on these. So you can see it's a neat wrinkle finish look to it. And that's exactly what I was after on that. So
it's actually perfect.
All right. Well, Dan, I thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get some people out here with some powder coating.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully they're local. Thanks.
Yes, all kinds of colors.
I'm back home now, and I've got the tree kickers are all powder coated and ready to go. Now I'm just prepping the machine with the mounting hardware, and I found online the company that sells mounting hardware, and this is from Hauser Racing. It's Houser Racing, and what it is it's an L bolt that comes with, it's a 12mm thread, comes with the lock nut, and then it comes with a tapped hole in this end, and it goes inside of this hole, spins around, and then you thread back through your factory bolt that comes with it through there. So once you get that bolt in there, it holds the L bolt in position. Then you can slide on the tree kickers to mount them on. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually adding some 1/2-inch washers or 1/2-inch spacers, and I'll show you that when I get these put on. And what it's going to do is there's a gap from the plastic to the frame. I want my tree kickers to be pinched to the frame, not to be pinched to the plastic, because I don't want to stress that or put cracks or anything else in it. So I'm actually spacing it out so it doesn't push in on the plastic. It pushes and mounts on the washers, and then the only thing holding the plastic is what was meant to hold that, and that's a little 6mm Torx head bolt that goes in there. All right, I have all the hardware in. So the L bolt is in, and it's just loosely fit, slightly snugged down with that bolt. Same with this one, it's loose, and this one up here is loose. And that's why when I designed these, I also created, there's 2 holes in it. So one is for the 12mm bolt that comes through, and the other one is an access hole to be able to reach in there and snug that down once the rails are on the side of it and mounted, so I can actually access that and get in there and snug those back down. But what I've done was with that washer, it spaces it out enough that the bracket of the tree kicker doesn't push on the plastic. Like I said earlier, I want it pushing on the frame. So now we're going to go ahead and try and get this loaded on here. And there you have it. That'll be pretty much what it looks like hanging on the machine. And there you can see that's all mounted up. And I went with, like I said, the black wrinkle finish from Eastwood Powder Coats. And the wrinkle look in it, hopefully it'll show up on camera, the wrinkle look in it is very similar to the texture of the plastic. So once I put some spray coating or some spray shine on those, it will look almost identical to that. I've got the rock rail tree kickers all mounted up, and I guess I can call them rock rails and tree kickers because they are mounted lower than the body, and they also stick out further than the wheel or right at flush and protect the side panels, so they will deflect any tree that should hit them and any rock or boulder that you should roll over. So I'm going to do a quick walk around here and show you how they fit up and look. Alright, so I think that's going to wrap the video up for today. I'd like to give special thanks to Michelle and Dan out at Blair Coatings in Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania, in the Duco building. And if you ever need any powder coating, look them up. I left the card on the screen there in part of the video. You can go back and check that out and look for the phone numbers. Again, I know fabrication videos aren't the most fun thing to watch, but there's some tips and there's some hints throughout the video of different things I did in the welding process, and also the fabrication of these tree kicker rock rails. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we'll try to get some more of these videos out as well. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks.